Hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming.
That was relaxing.
Wasn't it? Are you
Yeah.
awake, Charlie? Can I take a temp? How about you, Aaron? You still awake? I know that was not my usual intro, but library chats for me are something that I used to do when I started my channel.
I'm
It wasn't
getting.
called library chats, but it was serious conversations that mattered to a lot more than just me. So are you awake, Aaron? I didn't knock you out. It's like, but anyway, welcome Charlie Welch and Aaron Reece here. You may know them from over on the shows, and you may know them from lots of chats, or even right here, because they're
We do
mods
not
here
get
now.
along very well, so this should be good.
Yeah, they lie too. Just so you know, occasionally I'm going to have to call them out because, like they Charlie going to lie because they're actually friends. And we've had conversations. They're guys you can go to. And he disappeared. They're guys you could go to with a question and you could possibly get an answer. So when I thought about this topic, Aaron, about talking about this Men Too issue that's coming up because of the trial that I'm covering, and that you and Charlie are also over there in the chat a lot.
I'm back.
Yes, we missed you. Well, yeah. Well, you have very convenient. You went right at the punchline. You're really good at that. Well, anyway, to talk about that subject, first I'd like to tell you all that I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legal professional of any way. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. No medical degree. Not even a nurse. I claim no expertise in anything that I talk about, except for that I want to talk about it. Okay, so, and that goes for everybody up here on the panel. It's going to be an open discussion about a big topic, and it's going to have words and situations in it that could trigger people. We are going to talk about assault. We're going to talk about domestic violence. We're going to talk about inequality, prejudice, women's rights, men's rights, unwanted sexual advances, all of this, stalking, you name it, all kinds of things. So if anyone is feeling a little triggered, as always, I'll tell you, we do have these hard conversations. Please take care of your own mental health. Only you can do it. If you feel triggered, do what you need to do, so that you could take care of yourself. If you got to go. No offenses at all. All right. So on that.
That being said,
now that I brought you all down, let's get to the topic. First of all, I started on a lighter note. You guys have both been around for the trial on and off for the last 4 weeks. I don't know if you started right away when I did over there, but because it's Ranty's channel and he's a debunker and an ex-flirt, I understand, right? You're all familiar with him. There are a lot of you that I see over at the shills and at other streams that I started rubbing elbows over there. So I saw you there. So you were there too, watching it with Ranty. And Ranty had a pretty personal story to go with it as to why he wanted to cover it. I wanted to ask both of you first out, did that have anything to do with why you wanted to watch the coverage?
I'll start by saying it definitely helped catalyze it, just because Ranty's a pretty basic dude, but he's also got a pretty interesting story, and I've been involved in it for a long time. And that did help because I was not a court TV person. You couldn't make me at gunpoint watch trial on TV, but I've listened to this every day so far, every damn day.
I can see. How about you,
Like
Aaron?
during the OJ trial, I was like the only kid in 8th grade that just did not give a shit.
You know, I didn't watch that either. I thought that was like everybody. I would be like, who? What? Like, I don't know. How about you, Aaron?
I knew a lot. Well, I won't say a lot. The outcome of the original trial, and then just through the magic of the YouTube algorithm, I saw a lot of the stuff coming out that disproved her story and everything. I mean, Charlie and I both big Hunter S. Thompson fans, and got that Johnny Depp connection and everything, and they were personal friends, so that's kind of a testament to character. So that it grew, and then I would have checked in on it anyways, which at this point everybody's getting bombarded. But I got connected to it through you. I knew of Ranty, but I saw more through your stuff that said came into my feed, and I followed and took the chance to actually watch it because, frankly, I wanted to see the truth come out. Thankfully, the greater degree we have.
Right. So
It's
you
such
were
a farce so far. I mean, so
oh
many
my yeah.
circuses have happened. It's hard to know.
Well,
Watch it.
for your first trial, Charlie, you picked a good one because this is a rodeo. But this is wild. It has everything. And it's pretty lit, and you're in a chat that likes to talk back and forth. You get a lot of extra information, which it makes it more entertaining. It's not like the normal stuff that I cover, but I come from the same part that Aaron does. Like I knew about it well before this. But the reason I was excited to cover it with Ranty was his personal connection to it, that he felt very strongly about the issues the way I did when I looked at the trial. I wanted to see justice done. I thought there was some wrong being done here to somebody, and I wanted to see it all played out. I didn't start that way. I just started like a bad divorce with like two people who didn't like each other. And then it got worse.
Quick to realize that's not what we're dealing with here. This is going to be fucking Barnum and Bailey's.
It is, but it brought a lot of issues up that, like, I have brothers and I have partners, ex-partners and friends who have all had issues like this with someone going out of their way to paint them in a way that they're just not, and having an onslaught of societal pressure and just, everybody just piling on against them and having nowhere to go with it, nobody to help them with it. Like, what do you do? Like, what does someone like Johnny Depp do? Go to the police and try to file a report that Amber, clocked him in the head? They don't. That's not what's happening. Looking at the statistics in the last week, men do not report. However, I was quite surprised to find out that 1 in 4 men is a victim of either verbal or physical abuse by a personal partner, an intimate partner, someone you're in a relationship with, not a sister, a brother, or a mate, but a lover, a wife, a girlfriend, or a boyfriend. It's in same sex too. Were you surprised by that figure, Aaron? 1 in 4?
I was surprised it was that high, but I wasn't really surprised that it was up there. Like, I knew it was going to be higher than most people expected, but I didn't expect the 1 in 4. Because I've known guys who have been victims. I've known people who were in relationships where, when I say that they fought, I mean they fought. Like, he would throw the first punch and he wouldn't hit back, but he would grab and push, and they damn near strangled each other and everything else. So I knew it was out there, but not to such a great degree.
Well, just in comparison, so you get an idea about the number for women is 1 in 3. So they're not that different when it comes to when you combined all types of abuse, 1 in 4 or 1 in 3. I was very surprised, especially after hearing certain psychologists' testimonies about how it's never the man, who gets it. And I was shocked because, there's more than one kind of abuse. In talking to Bearded Heretic, who's well on his ways to becoming a forensic psychologist. He's already finished his psychology degree and he's on to his master's. And what he said to me in regards to that was that type of abuse that is like that men aren't reporting it, but it happens like that often, and that a lot of times these studies and all are being done, and there's not enough of the men's information to like balance it out, But he was also quite taken aback by the testimony that just seemed very woman based instead of bringing all of the numbers out, because the number's pretty high. I was shocked. I mean, for me, but thank you for stopping by, Leah. Thank you. We all seem to know someone who's been through it. So now I'm going to get a little personal because like that's how these conversations end up going. So, knowing that the number is 1 in 4, then obviously there's 2 of you here. Would Would either of you admit to have been in any type of a relationship that way, whether it was be physical or mental type of abuse? Do you think it would qualify that you may have had something that was reportable?
A very early on one, like my first major dating ship in high school,
Mm-hmm.
she ended up being pretty violent. Yeah. And it was out of jealousy, and I was forced to, just cut tail and run. And I think it had a little bit of effect on relationships in the future, because that's still what I do. And I'm not saying that's what formed that, but
Mm-hmm.
it definitely enforced it, because it could have something to do with why I'm 42 and never married. I mean, I get in those arguments, if I do, which is
Mm-hmm.
very rare, and I just want to leave it. That's
Mm.
why I relate to Johnny Depp a little bit.
Of course, you would do the same thing. You would just retreat from it rather than participate because you don't, it's
Yeah, because
uncomfortable. Mm-hmm.
punched me in the face a couple times.
Ow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna want to leave or
All right. So
fight back. So
so yours was physical. And did you have emotional like
not with that one, but with other ones,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah.
I
But
just
it's Aaron's turn. I want to hear what he has to say on that one.
All right, Aaron. Charlie's
Um,
calling you out.
I've never been in an abusive relationship. And I would report it if there was. In fact, it would probably go pretty badly if someone ever struck me out of anger. It has gone
Mhm.
badly when people have touched me when there was a moment of anger, but it was a guy, so
Mhm.
it was considered fair. But I've got a history of trauma and seeing trauma, and my reactions tend to be, uh, how do I put this? So I have anxiety attacks, and most of the
Mhm.
time, it is an inward anxiety attack. It's a flee
Mhm.
reaction, sometimes a freeze reaction, but the second somebody breaks it, I
Mhm.
snap. And the people who know me know that.
Right.
So it's best if I withdraw and stuff. And I've had like I and my wife, we separated for 6 months, and the last fight that we had before that, I would never, like I said, I don't lay hands on, and I would never lay hands on her, and I didn't, but I
Mhm.
ripped a light off a wall.
Right.
Um, I
Mhm.
flipped it's about 100-pound table. I flipped it
Mhm.
on its top.
Mhm.
Um, so I would report it, but no, my life has not been free of issues
Mhm.
before that where the bias has come into play and caused it.
Mhm. Well, there's been, I can understand that both things. I have something to say on both. Now, for you, Charlie, I can understand where trust can become a big issue when things like that happen. The statistics alone on just domestic violence alone or interpersonal violence alone lead to plenty of what they couch it all as mental health issues, but it doesn't mean like you're mental.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They just mean depression, anxiety, trust issues. I myself have serious trust issues. And I can understand why if a woman comes up and starts beating on you and she's in a personal relationship, you're going to have some trust issues about women afterwards, like because you don't have the benefit of being able to fight back as much. I see we're listening to a trial right now where Amber's main defense is that I hit him back because he was the abuser. Like I just hit him back. Like of course I did. I did it because he did it, and she feels she can get away with it. So like you're getting hit and you can't even defend yourself because you're going to get judged 10 times harsher for doing it. The same thing with Aaron. You got anger because somebody is violating your 3 feet, your bodily autonomy, your space, your 3 feet around you, and yet you're not allowed to react or protect yourselves without being judged. I don't recommend that everybody go around there beating on anybody. I don't. But I do know that society is going to judge you harsher for any reaction you have in regards to it. Because I've seen it. I've seen it with my brothers. I've seen them tortured over crazy girls.
But like we
Uh,
were saying before the
yeah.
show, I was saying how men are evolutionary disposed to the physical violence, whether it's
Mhm.
inward like Aaron's or outward like
Well, yeah, it's
whoever. But like these
hunter
women are
gatherer. Yeah.
the mind games a woman can put a man through are can be just amazing, just
Yeah.
amazingly devious,
Mm. I
and have just as
probably
much impact.
They do because I could tell you plenty of personal stories in regards to my brothers and friends that are going through things when going through a divorce, anything emotional like that, getting their children used against them, not getting the same equal rights, having stories told against them just so they win a house. Like
Oh yeah,
horrible stuff. They have no bones about it and being manipulative and saying these things as if you don't have feelings because maybe you don't show them the same way we do. It doesn't mean you don't have them, but because you're not out there with them all the time, you're not I hate to make generalizations or over characterizations, but to me, it seems a little obvious that women are going to be a little emotional about things, and you're going to know a little more about where somebody, like if something hurts their feelings or something's not right, than it would either of you, or a man in general. And that might be a characterization on my part, but it's my experience. And I'm of an age where I could say I've known a couple of men, and I have brothers, and I don't always know where they're coming from or if their feelings get hurt about something until later. They'll tell me like a week later, when you said this, well, that really bummed me out, or something. But you
yeah.
don't know right away. Like it's not right there with you. You don't bring it out like right away. Would you say that's true? Like,
I'd say that's a pretty fair generalization. Of course, there's exceptions to everything, but I think that's pretty fair.
yeah. Can I ask how long you stayed trying to figure out a relationship where you got hit while you were running? Did you try to figure it out, or did you know
That's
right
why
then
I
and
don't
there?
really, I have a hard time giving it credit for the way I am now because it was such a fleeting thing and it was such a high school thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
uh, like a year altogether, that kind of stuff didn't happen till the end of it
no.
when I was about to go to college and she couldn't because she was still a junior and she lost her shit. And everything I did was wrong.
Wrong.
Everything I did was with another girl, even if I was
Mm-hmm.
playing basketball with a bunch of guys at the park. That's where she came up and swung at me a couple times
Mm-hmm.
and connected on one of them. And I just, even you're in high school, a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
guys see that and it's, oh.
Yeah, you
So,
got
and
your
yeah,
girl
and I'm
got your
just like,
butt.
nope, I'm
Yeah.
getting in my car and I'm going home. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Yeah. So you didn't feel able to speak to anybody in your circle? None of your friends? No,
That's what
no.
I'm saying is like at the time, it was just like, whoa, that shit was crazy. She's crazy. And it was just for laughs, really. It wasn't like something so heady that I had to
Mm-hmm.
like have one-on-ones with my friends about it or anything, really.
Yeah. Okay. So that's different then. It's like,
Yeah.
well, how about you, Aaron? When in a situation like that where somebody's invading your space, you said you would report. Um, you mean going like to the officials or when if anybody violated your personal space violently, even if it was a female, you would go, or you would file it. Would you file a DV report at a police station or with the
Oh yeah.
services? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then again, I've got more experience with the legal system from an earlier
Mm-hmm.
age than most
Mm-hmm.
people, like without getting into too much detail because it involves family members and nobody in my house is abusive, but there were situations that
Mm-hmm.
played out where we had police on hand on a somewhat regular basis a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm far more comfortable with the legal system to an exceptional degree, which that's part of.
Right.
I have complex PTSD, things I've seen, things I've experienced,
Mm-hmm.
um, and everything. So I have no discomfort and I'm familiar with interacting with the police. But
Right.
the thing I misjudge is that I don't know like how long would it take me to break it off because my longest, most major relationship, and the only one I've gotten into where anything was touched to a great degree, which is
Mm-hmm.
my wife and I before we separated, that it was us, and we have a fairly exceptional relationship. Unlike most, she is my best friend. my wife, she's the mother of my
She's
kids,
great.
she's a lover.
Mhm.
So it becomes hard for me to judge situations within that relationship as I would
Mhm.
any other relationship.
Mhm. No, I can see that, because like it's totally different. From your experience, you say you have some experience with this. Would you say that people, the men coming forward, are successful in getting these claims filed?
Are you talking about purely physical abuse?
Um, Well, the ones you can file on would be imminent danger for physical abuse, from my understanding. Is that correct, Aaron, from your experience? It's really hard to file a. Well, also that. Well, let's talk about stalking, because that's a big number. We'll finish with this question with Aaron just about the police, but then go right to the other one, Charlie, because stalking. I was shocked at the numbers for men that get stalked by women, and and then I'll give you a definition of it, but it was astronomical. I was blown away. But Aaron, do you think it's successful for them? Do you think once they go through that doors, do you think they're going to find the help that they need, or do you think there's still those roadblocks where there's going to be
It's
some
going to take
resistance?
an immense amount of effort, and the reason that Johnny Depp's case has gotten so far is because he has the money to pour into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing it through a public defender, if you get a result, it's going to be reduced. I mean, we already know the statistics
Mm-hmm.
about men getting sentenced versus women getting sentenced for
Mm-hmm.
the same crime, and that
Right.
ranges everything. But then you also, without even touching the stalking issue, you've got, when you deal with verbal, you've got issuing threats. And those are hard enough to press as is. And when you get into a situation like that where you're in private and there are no witnesses, you can forget getting anywhere with it. And for guys, it's even harder, especially if it's a threat of a physical nature and you are much larger than your partner.
Mm-hmm. No, I can definitely. Wow, it is just. It's unfortunate that that roadblock is there, because, and especially when we get later, we could talk more about the financial end. But let's for now, let's just bring up the stalking issue, because besides the physical abuse, now the 1 in 4 figure that I gave you about men getting physical abuse, that would have been, like Charlie said, a slap, a push, a shove, pushing them down the stairs, throwing something at them. What this survey actually considered, like, if you could use the word like low end abuse, like I don't know how abuse could be categorized as that low end in any way, but they were saying, like Charlie said, just smacked in the face, like not physically punched or attacked with like an implement or anything like that. 1 in 4. 1 in 7 have been severely physically abused by a fist, hard object, slammed against something, choked, burned, thrown very hard, like attacked with tools or implements. I guess that would be like, using
Pitchforks,
a
things like that.
yeah, yes, frying pans. Even like if we want to be funny about it, we could just say frying pans. But using an implement. So that was 1 in 7. So women would 1 in 4. It was more common that it was like pushed around, shoved, bit, hair pulled, things like that. And then the others would be much more violent. But 1 in 7 is still a big number, a big number, a number that surprised me. But the number that really surprised me is that 48% of the men in dating in sexual relationships have experienced some type of stalking or coercive behavior with their partners, whether it be a same-sex partner, a female partner, it's an intimate partner. But men, 48.8%. It's almost 50% of you out there, which means there's 2 of you here, which means one of you most likely, based on statistics, has been stalked. Hey, and by stalking, they mean
Those stats bear out because I have, he hasn't.
I'm telling you, like, asking where you are all the time. When you try to separate contact from them, they're calling all the people around you, like your family, your friends, your
people they haven't even
neighbors.
fucking met in my case.
Right.
Yeah.
And to find out like things about you. They're showing up at your job. They're, sending you things. They're in your personal space, uninvited all the time, inserting themselves into your life. Okay. And that's just the basic kind of stalking. But then it gets into the coercive stuff where there's, maybe now they're around you and they're being more obsessive. Okay. And they start eliminating people in your life, like where you can go, eliminating your friends, your family,
They try to work
keeping
where you
tabs on
work,
you.
things like that.
Yeah. Like Charlie, where are you? Call me. Like you took 2 hours to answer my text. Where are you? And what are you doing? Show me your face on video. That kind of stuff. Just,
Well, I've had
yeah.
two that were not stalkers but engaged in coercive behavior in the aftermath because
Right.
they were within my circle of friends. They were friends of friends, or we had friends in common even after the fallout. And they basically drop misinformation or try to manipulate situations in order to do harm to me. And it wasn't so much as a matter of ownership as they just wanted to do some damage on the way out of my life.
Wow. Yeah.
A malevolent person is a malevolent person, and they'll attack wherever the weakness exists. So it could be a societal issue, or
And that's more of a woman thing, I gotta say.
Well, it could be a legal
I don't
issue.
know. I don't know, Charlie, because if it's 48.8% of men, that makes it 51.2% of women. So like that means men are doing it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, but I mean maybe differently. I will
Maybe
give
I've
you
just
that.
dated nothing but fucking snake women.
I don't know. But anyway, let me just clarify that when we're talking about stalking with psychological implications here, we're talking about coercive behaviors. The stalking part is like being tracked or by demanding to know where your whereabouts are. The coercive parts and the psychological abuse parts include insulting and humiliating or feeling threatened by that partner once you're in an intimate relationship. And at 4 out of 10 men, based on the statistics of 48.8%, have experienced at least one form of this coercive control, which includes isolation from your friends and family, manipulation, blackmail, deprivation of liberty, threats, economic control, and exploitation by an intimate partner in their life at least once. By the time,
everything online probably falls under that umbrella too, then, wouldn't it?
Everything online. I don't know. Have you been blackmailed online? Wow.
I just mean coercive nature stalking. That's online stuff falls under that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it could. I don't know.
I'll say most cases, yeah.
I've had a few minor stalkers on like online, but nothing like this. Like what we're talking about is nothing like that online stuff. Like this is physical and mental and really like a change your life kind of stalking, not the, not what I do to Charlie or Mocking Media. Like he jokes about having a TRO because I promote his account so much, or, that I just harass Charlie in the chats occasionally. Not like that. Like, although I'm sorry, Charlie.
No, you're not. No, I'm not either.
Okay. So, because just in case, like, I don't want to cross any lines, now I'm looking at this statistic and going, gosh, like how many lines, like, may I have?
You're looking at yourself in the mirror and writing check marks.
No,
I'm a stalker.
I'm a stalker. No,
she's a stalker. I'm a serial killer.
Oh my God, no. Okay, but anyway, on a more serious note about the stalking issue, it's actually harder to get rid of a stalker than it is an abuser, believe it or not.
Well, yeah, because they can dance around doing anything illegal pretty easy.
It's really hard to get. Go on.
Getting proof of it is really difficult too, which, with men, it's harder to get it taken seriously based on, what they're doing and everything. But getting them in a situation where A, they've crossed the line, and B, you can prove it, that's damn near impossible. And then just a quick rollback to what Charlie's talking about with the online stuff. I would say with that one, the thing that would mainly qualify is if they had been in your life, say it's an ex, and
Mhm.
then that online because they have access to your friends, they have access to your physical location. When they engage any of that, bringing online, that is definitely stalking.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm glad I did most of my hardcore dating and whatnot in wild times
Right.
before all this was even available.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Because that's a whole nother thing there too. Like most of this is all about physical, personal relationships with people. Like actually one-on-one physical, uh, intimate partnerships. So you actually have to have a formal sexual relationship with this person to fall into these statistics. Just to be clear, like there's more
Hmm.
going on than just online interactions. Although some of those can get a little crazy too. I understand, but um they really mean like you're intimate, like this is somebody really close to you in your life and you're just taken aback by it. And then the statistics of what men do about it, okay, are pretty
Yeah, and when I
yours.
compared my little stalking story to some of my friends' stalking stories, they were like parallel in almost every way.
Yeah. And how old were you where your stalking story,
This was
if you don't mind me asking?
actually early 30s, very
Hmm.
early 30s, like 30, 31.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It does seem
And
to happen in younger men. They actually said it's more likely to happen before you're 25, definitely before 35. And it doesn't happen as much to older gentlemen. I guess you get,
or
wiser
they
and
just don't mind it as much.
or they just give up on women entirely. I don't know. I don't know, but
Well, you're
uh,
probably going to have more partners during that age, and then it also are developing that
mhm,
A, who you like, and B, the instinct for who is bluntly a red flag that you want to avoid at all
mhm,
costs.
right. No, I get it. It's just like really basically stalking is the unwanted attention of someone on an intimate personal level. All right, they're invading your personal space somehow, either physically within the 3 feet or mentally within the, finding out where you are all the time, calling you, asking a lot from you. No matter how much you tell them, just can you back
Mine
off a little?
kept it
Can you
all in
back off?
public for the most part.
All in public, yeah,
For the most part, yeah. Because
yeah.
that was when I was like a karaoke junkie.
Ah,
So
you
I'll
were
just
like a
go to this place
karaoke.
instead.
Wait, so it's Charlie, the karaoke rock star? Is she was really a groupie, right? Like you see.
Kinda. Yeah.
Kinda, and see what I just did that right there? That's why men don't say anything. And I did that on purpose because you see how he just went with it? You
Yeah.
see how he, instead of saying, Claire, I'm telling you something serious here. That's not funny. Like, which would have been like something I would say, but you don't. Your natural instinct is like, oh, yep, just be quiet about it. I'm just not going to say anything. And that's what I'm trying to point out is that it's not easy for you guys, because a guy would have said, like, joked around with you just like I just did and said, yeah, right. She was
Well,
just
it's
a
hard
groupie.
for a guy to acknowledge that something like that affected you any amount of time after it actually happened.
Um, why do is it like, okay, so you can only feel it for that minute? Like, you're
No,
not
I'm not
allowed,
saying you
yeah?
can't feel it or don't feel it or not feel it. I'm
Well, it
saying
can't
you're not
affect
going to
you,
complain about it down the road
Oh, okay, so
to
it's like
somebody
the,
else. Yeah.
right. Well, it can. I mean, like if that had gone on for any length of time, that could have been a real issue. If it kept you from meeting other people, like what if you wanted to meet, there was some other girl you wanted to get interested at the diner,
Oh,
whatever you,
That did happen. Yeah.
and then
That's
this person's interfering with everything, and it's causing you a serious mental issue because, like, you got to worry about them coming and messing everything up, saying the wrong thing, telling her stuff that's not true, trying to insinuate she has a relationship with you that she doesn't have, so the other one thinks you're cheating.
yeah,
Like,
like
it's messed up
John in the
stuff.
chat, old John boy said toxic
Hmm.
masculinity plays into it and the suck it up, be a
Yep.
man, etc. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and that's not right. That's not fair. That's why, like, I feel it's easier for me to talk about it than it is you guys, and I find that like really atrocious, actually. Which is why I'm talking about it all the time. Uh, John said he once had a boyfriend who tried to play mind games, but I saw through it right away and I dumped him. I remember, John, we have talked about this in other chats. A turd. I knew he was going to hit me, so I hit him back first. Well, and you probably won't get as much flack being man to man as if it was a woman, but
Well, he's
he could
talking
still
about
file on
anger.
you. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
my anger and violence light switches are completely different whether I'm dealing with a man or a woman. That's for damn sure.
Right. And how do you guys feel like that? Do you think that should change, or do you think I have two brothers and they're of different minds on both. So I wanted to know what you guys think. Like when I talked to them about this, and I did, and they didn't like it. Okay. They were happy I was talking to you guys instead.
Well, like in
Well,
real life, when it comes to guy and a guy, I mean, I'm real quick to what the fuck are you looking at kind of stuff,
right.
But
But if
it's just not going to happen with a woman. It's just not. I was raised by all women. I saw
mhm.
both of my sisters go through just fucking myriads of worms with
are you
penises. And
are,
so, yeah.
are you comfortable protecting yourself though? Blocking,
Oh,
holding her
yeah.
back,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
removing yourself from the situation.
Yeah. I'm
How
not going to
about
let anybody,
how
smack
how about
pop me in the nose.
how about calling her out for it, like immediately, like what the fuck? This is not the right thing to do. Are you there yet?
Well, yeah, but I just think the only experience I had with that chick in high school, that would have been kerosene
Mm-hmm.
on a campfire. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's almost identical to an answer I got from my brother. He's like, it's not worth it. It's not right what they're doing, but it's not worth the verbal abuse I'm going to get later for trying to tell them they shouldn't treat me like that. And I'm like, that blew me away. He doesn't even feel like he can say anything about how he's being treated because of the verbal onslaught and the ridicule that he would get about, wait, aren't you man enough? Like, gosh, I'm like half your size. Like, how could I really hurt you? Like, how could those words hurt you, you big tough guy? Like, it's only words, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what he said. It's not worth it. It's not worth what that makes him feel like afterwards. So he don't fight back at all. Well, he didn't. It's over with. They separated finally, but during it, he just felt it was not worth the aggravation to do anything about it because the onslaught just kept coming worse. It has got to feel pretty bad, not to have that kind of control. And he said it was because of woman. Because if he said how it made him feel, he felt like people would just put him down for it or think he was weak in some way. It doesn't seem fair
Sad to
because
say, but I think a lot of stigmas are changing for the better in a lot of ways, but I don't think that one's anywhere close to changing.
it's not because men and men. My own other brother, when this brother said something about it, said, "Oh yeah, right." Like, come on, like
Yeah.
that tone. You know what I mean? Like when it's like, "Oh, come on," just like that was the
Yeah.
first thing out of his mouth, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, hey, maybe we should listen. He said, of course you would say that. You're a woman. And I'm like, okay, so you're just a misogynist on both sides. Yeah, I get it. Like, just shut up. I'll go talk to my brother myself. But yeah, it's the first instinct. It's just like, yeah, right. Like, no way,
Well, it's improving slowly, but the problem is it's an old dog, new trick situation where you're as these younger
Mm-hmm.
generations grow into it, it's going to be better. But the guys who are adults now, especially, every
Mm-hmm.
generation you go up in age, you're going to see that still more embedded in
Mm-hmm.
them. And it's other things too that are tied to that, like your circle of friends. Guys are only supposed to have guy friends. It gets even worse when you're dating a toxic woman that's always accusing you of cheating. You can't
Mm-hmm.
have any women friends. So you're surrounded by guys that have the same expectation. They can't say anything to you. You can't say anything to them. So it never gets brought
Mm-hmm.
up. And
Right.
fighting, a lot of times, getting the confidence to go in and report something and take action is having
Mm-hmm.
somebody that is telling you, yes, this is the right thing to do. Well, if you can't get it out there, you can't get that affirmation. You need to take the first step.
That's right. And that's the thing. It's like just being more open to hearing the stories, um even when it's not going on, the aftermath, you know what I mean? Like, most of what we're talking about now, nothing. I would hope, but I don't know, and I'm not going to pry if there was anything currently going on, being open to listening to somebody if something's currently going on with them, if they're having some kind of struggle that way, um, privately, even just finding one person to talk to. My brother said it was actually a female friend that he got to talk to about it first, because nobody else, his own brother, he didn't come to me first. He went to one of his other female friends who listened to him and gave him encouragement to speak out about it and to uh, run the scenarios. If he thought the scenarios were wrong, he had a lot of doubt about what was happening to him, whether he was making more of it than it was. And so just to run the scenarios across to a few other people. So he did, and he got counseling and talked to somebody, and then he did not actually do anything legal. Well, he did separate. He did get the strength to separate from the situation. Well, that deciding factor was when the partner wouldn't join him in therapy to discuss it, not even once. And then he knew that it probably was a problem if they didn't want to talk about it with anybody else. They didn't want anybody else to know about it.
Even if that wasn't the problem, the fact that you don't want to do counseling even once says your expectations for the whole thing.
Right,
Well,
because
abuse is inherited too. So and a lot of them, just like with Amber Heard, she's got borderline personality disorder. The symptoms of the illness make it almost impossible for you to recognize that you have an issue. So that I'm not surprised she wouldn't join him, because they can't acknowledge that they are this person, that they have this problem.
exactly.
They put it on the other person, and it may not be necessarily what you would call, malevolent, like I said, because they're not like, well, I'm going to this, I'm a terrible person. I'm going to ruin this person's life. I'm going to treat them like garbage. They are justified in their mind with their actions. They convince themselves that it's okay to.
Yeah, but it's not. Like, that's just the thing. Like, you should be free to just say it's not. Like, when you're uncomfortable for whatever reason, you should be allowed to voice that you're uncomfortable and do something about it, the same as anybody else, because this is why the statistics on those that do not get help in mental health are worse for men. Because of the situations that you're under, the stresses. There used to be war statistics. They're not anymore. They're just everyday life here in the United States. All my statistics, I want to just say, are coming from US-based surveys and organizations. I did not go out of the country for these, because both of these gentlemen are here from the United States, and I wanted the statistics that I spoke of to match the conversation. But I assure you that when just a brief cursor that I looked, the statistics in other countries pretty much match it. Not exactly, but close enough to where it's an issue everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's a worldwide issue, that I could say. To the other countries, mostly England and Australia that I deal with, the same positions, and they are that you do not have any facilities for mental health, for men's mental health, that are geared just for you in regards to psychological abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence, anything like that happens to you.
Well,
You don't have shelters.
picture like a family barbecue, and you got all the men around the grill and all the women over across the yard. I've always pictured the women freely talking. I might be completely off, but I've always pictured them, for the most part, freely talking about issues in their private lives, marriages, relationships, or whatever. And you zoom over to the other side of the yard, fly on the wall on the barbecue, and there's none of that talk going on ever. It's just not.
Really? Not guy to
No.
guy, huh? Really?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Guy to guy,
might-
maybe, but not in a group. There's no way in hell.
Well,
Ever.
not in a group,
might-
right? But with your friends, do you at least feel comfortable enough to talk about something that makes you uncomfortable, just to run it by another person to see if there's something there?
One-on-one is a totally
Yeah.
different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, I'm like that too, though. And I'm not a guy. Like, I don't want to talk about it in a big group, although I do talk in big groups a lot. The real stuff, the one-on-one, intimate, personal relationships about my partner is never going to be that much like that. It's going to be just one person to see if everything's okay. Because, there's the other part about it. Shame is a big thing, right? When somebody does something to you and you don't think it's right, you feel violated in some way. Because let's be honest, whether it's a verbal abuse or physical abuse, you've been violated in some way. You have been, you're altered in a way that was unnecessary. You have been violated and made to think a little bit differently about some things. And the shame of that, because we're wondering why, like, what did we do? Shame usually hits first and you don't want to talk about it. Well, that happens with women as well as men from the surveys that I read, but that it sticks with men more, that you're not going to say anything because you don't want anybody to ask what they will first. What did you do? Because with a man, that means more. What did you do than it does to me? Like Charlie, when you got hit, if you had said something to somebody and the first thing they said, well, what did you do? What did you do to deserve it? How'd you
That's
piss
what
her
my
off?
mom would have said. Yeah.
Right? Even your sister, because I have been guilty of saying that to my brother. Actually, before I knew what was going on, I was guilty all the time. I said it without even thinking. You're like, oh yeah, what'd you do? Like, what was the problem? Did you step out? Did you, piss her off? What'd you do? And it's that shame that that's what you're going to get asked, and it must be your fault. It must be something you did. Because it wouldn't happen. But the truth is, it's going to happen. Yeah. Go
when
on.
it comes to physical violence, which when there's physical violence, there's almost always verbal abuse to go with it. But we tend to we attempt to be objective creatures, but we are actually very subjective. So if a guy gets hit, it may not be as painful. A lot of times it won't leave marks quite as badly. We don't bruise as easily as women for a lot of different reasons. A lot of times we heal faster. But we tend to take and try to look to the physical wound to decide how bad the abuse was, and that is completely ignoring the psychological damage that was done during the assault and stuff, because especially you're at home, you're supposed to be safe. You're with a person you're supposed to be safe with, and that has been violated completely. So you've lost your physical safe space unless you're hiding somewhere, which being in the depth case, you've got to have a safe zone just to get away from your partner, and that's not cool. If you need to take a break from fighting and one person goes to bed and the other person sits on the couch, that's fine. But when you have to have an area to withdraw to on a regular basis just to feel like you're not going to get hurt, you've got nowhere safe psychologically.
No, I can understand that. Like, we heard that testimony of just going from room to room and trying to get away from someone who just kept pounding on the door and demanding that if you were a real man, you would have this argument with me face to face and we would just get this over with. Like, and to hear those words coming from that person saying, that's not a real fight when you leave. Like, that's not how we settle things,
And I've always been the person that's like, and we'll do that as soon as we can talk.
Right. And didn't you hear Johnny say that? I will come back and we will talk and do whatever. But right now we got to de-escalate. And he's using the appropriate language. He's saying de-escalate. He's saying, like, this isn't appropriate behavior between the two of us. This is not going to solve anything. And they just won't let go. They just won't let go. And it's, unfortunately, there's a lot of people like that. Amber's not an isolated case of women like this.
Jingo J, how dare you throw Amber into Wolverine in the same sentence?
Oh, because she can heal from glass all over. And John also, they're making the Amica coats, like, how Randy says she's got that rubber face because she heals so, like, you never see anything on this girl. But anyway, she's extraordinary. But she did open up the topic for a lot of things. On that, I'd like to ask, just here on, like, let's just talk like YouTube chats and Twitter, like wherever you guys hang out on the internet. Do you see the environment changing at all to being more acceptable? Or I see a lot of pro Johnny support, but do you think it's to the level that it's actually going to trickle down to all men being able to say more?
I certainly don't see anything indicative of that, but I'm also not looking for it,
Hmm. So it's
Um,
like just a big
I
high
hardly think
profile
there's going to be
case.
a high profile celebrity in this situation, and all these men are going to just get on Facebook and like, yeah, I got
Mhm.
it last night.
Oh
Or,
no, but can I ask you? If I had asked you before this trial to do this conversation, would you?
yeah,
Oh, you would. Okay, good.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good, honest answer. Thank you. Okay, how about you, Aaron?
yeah, I'd have done it, but then again, I've researched stuff generally as a humanist, looking at everything. And that's the thing that really sucks
Hmm.
about this is you've got those super polarized individuals out there, the alpha males or
Oh, yeah.
those groups, the incels that are going to try to own this issue, and we have to stop them because they're going to. People want things simple for a lot of reasons. Some do
Hmm.
it because it's easier to address an overall issue if you just bundle it all together.
Hmm.
So,
Some
they're
people
gonna
aren't
take
smart
and
enough to be abstract at all.
yeah,
Right,
that's what I was
right.
gonna say is
Hmm.
and then some people do it just for, comfort level, like he's saying they don't either can't or don't want to deal with understanding that when it comes to this, it has to be taken on a person by person basis. So they want to look at the fact that they perceive that the majority of women are or the majority of abuse cases are women, so we should treat it
Hmm.
as if all abuse cases are women,
Hmm.
um, when in reality that we need to
It's
come
not.
at it from a neutral point of view, and, like, if you wanna take a look at what happens in colleges, the anonymity of both parties needs to be absolutely protected until the
It
matter
it
is
does.
dealt with,
Hmm.
whether it's referred to the police for prosecution, and that's a whole 'nother issue with,
Yeah.
balancing the
You know,
right.
that does happen in other countries where both
Mhm.
parties are protected. The no
Mhm.
names hit the newspaper. Nothing happens until they actually find out what actually happened. Which is for us here in the United States, that's novel, right? Like that don't happen here.
They don't they protect the
Yeah.
victims at a lot of colleges, but they don't protect the person
Hmm.
that's accused. And even when you get to court, we're balancing because you're supposed to have a trial that
Hmm.
is publicly broadcast for your or not broadcast, but that is open to the public for your protection to make sure that you're not buffaloed into
Hmm.
a false decision, but it is abused by the media and then abused by the general public to conduct
Hmm.
a trial by press or a trial by social media, which is what we saw
Hmm.
here in the first case.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we have to address it through official means, and then we have to change as a society to say,
Mhm.
the jury's still out on this, so I'm not going to do anything. If a company, like with Disney, if they want to say right now, we're not sure what's going on, so we're going to take and yeah, we're not doing
Suspend
this
both
movie
of their
yet,
yeah, suspend both
stuff.
of their contracts. Why pick
Yeah,
one over the other?
but they take and they run it through the ground and they do
Mhm.
it for press favor.
You but
Um,
I kind of get it because there was such an oppression before. They took the issue of domestic violence and put it on a women's issue altogether, where they felt there was not equality, and they made it so much bigger and used such big cases to do it, and it got too big. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm all for it, the legislation that happened. I'm sure you guys are too, because
Yes.
that being able to walk into a police station and get a TRO so that you don't get hit that night is a big thing. Okay. And it should be for a man and a woman. And you should get the protection right away. But the actual repercussions that happen afterwards, no, not that. The name shouldn't be out there, any of that. Definitely nobody should lose jobs, this, that, until everything gets used because too many people, mostly women at this point, are using it to get what they want from someone, to punish someone, just to beat them in divorce or with revenge or anything like that because they get believed right away. I want victims to believe. We should believe victims, but we should believe all victims, like you guys too. Like I shouldn't be able to say, yeah, right, like it didn't happen to you. If I'm gonna
Well,
say believe a woman, well,
we swing like a pendulum as a society, and we go too far one way and then too far the other, and slowly it dies down to center. But it's
mhm,
chaos in the meantime because
it
before
is.
women were suffering all of this and it was not addressed. Well, now it's an automatic assumption rather than taking and saying, okay, the facts are out here, let's evaluate them. And we'll come to a point where we're taking a balanced look at this, we're approaching it in a more psychologically and societally healthy manner. But in the meantime, how many people are going to get hit on each end of that?
Exactly. Well, there was one tweet that I saw while we were on break, and it really incited riot in me. Like, I don't know what, and I won't even copy and bring it up here because I don't want the person to get persecuted. But they literally said, if we don't believe Amber Heard, we're against all women and all domestic violence sufferers. And that's the mentality that makes what's happening now and people getting abused in this whole situation, as far as false claims and allegations being acceptable. That's the climate it grows in. That my way or the highway, it's this or it's that, is wrong. That is just like, listen, I'm a woman and I should have the freedom to say I smell bullshit when I listen to Amber Heard. It doesn't matter that she's a woman and she can tell me all of this stuff about being abused. And I listened. I listened very, very carefully. I heard the story. I didn't call her a liar right away, but I want to be able to have the freedom to call a liar and not let her wear some shield of, I'm a woman who claims I was violated, so you can't do that. Bullshit. Like, that just, I call bullshit. That's all. Like, there's some, I have a show for that. We call it fuckery. Like, there's some damn fuckery. I'm sorry, to curse at you guys, but can you believe how polite I'm being? How dare I? I can't believe you guys got me watching my P's and Q's and being all polite and shit.
I don't care.
I know you don't, but still.
Just like Sailor.
I was trying to give you
respectful of the topic.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm being respectful of both of you and the topic is what I was trying to say. But that must have really, if you saw that tweet, that would have been upsetting, right, to anyone. Like, just that, because she's a woman, I gotta believe her, or I don't believe in women's rights. Like, how could any woman not believe Amber Heard? It's easy. If you're not telling the truth, if you want to look at facts, we should have the freedom to do that. And I should have the freedom to believe Charlie or to believe Aaron or anybody.
I've only briefly waded into the pro Amber stuff online, and it's astounding, though. It's almost like, did you watch any of this trial? Not 1 minute of it, huh? You just really haven't watched any of it.
Because they're penalizing Johnny for being successful before he met Amber. Okay, so Amber's saying that I'm not allowed to say anything because Johnny's so successful and he's so big in the industry and the industry's against me because I'm a woman and blah, blah, blah. But we're not allowed to say, yo, you used Johnny for your career. You set eyes on him on purpose and set him up to take advantage and to fleece him. Like, I'm not allowed to call you for what you were? Like, what, a predator? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You don't live Johnny's life the way he's lived it. Balls to the wall, pedal to the metal, with all these different women, ups and downs, and make it to this ripe age. And this is the first time you actually start physically abusing a woman, is just right now.
Exactly. Because has he been drinking since he was a teenager?
Yeah.
Yes. Has he been doing drugs since he's a teenager?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Has he been a rock star?
Yeah.
A movie star? Groupies?
That's what I'm saying. He's been pedal to the metal since he was like 12.
Exactly. And no one came forward to ever say he laid a hand on them. No woman ever. And he's had volatile relationships. He admits to being jealous.
Oh, yeah.
He admits to being argumentative and having problems with drugs and alcohol. But he will not admit, because it's not true, that he ever laid a hand on a woman. Now, if he'll admit all that other stuff, including cheating on his wife, being a bad parent, at times, doing things in front of his children he was embarrassed about, he admits all of that. If he had
stuff, why wouldn't he admit the rest? Hard to admit.
Right. Why wouldn't he admit the rest? You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say it's probably, I'm
in anything like this, true. Once someone shouts abuse, if it's ever happened before, they're going to be lining up.
True, because there was the Me Too.
Stood up.
Yeah, that's such an excellent point. I wish we were on a Johnny in-depth trial recap or something, because that point right there, Charlie, I've been wanting to say.
Any other celebrity, any of them.
Look when it happened. It happened in like 2018,
Look at
right?
Marilyn
Like,
Manson.
yeah, Marilyn Manson, Harvey Weinstein, Me Too movement that was at the height. Okay, you know damn well if it was true and anybody had anything on Johnny when she said it, everybody would have came out of the woodwork just like they did on everybody else.
Or one, maybe.
Or two or three, or just somebody, but nobody, nobody. And nobody really came forward to tell the story that Amber's telling the truth either. Nobody was standing up there with her saying, I saw it.
Winona Ryder loves a little undeserved spotlight. She would have jumped all over this, but she doesn't have anything to say.
No, she
Leia,
doesn't.
this is an ideal situation, too, to suss out extremists for the fact that we know that they were both physically aggressive towards each other, and we've seen the extremes of that because and the big debate is, the order in which it played out in and how it played out. We know that he hit him. We know he pushed her. She swears that, he was being abusive, whereas it tends to look more like self-defense and everything. But we know they were both physically aggressive with each other. So to automatically side with one without evaluating the situation and the evidence shows that you're giving zero thought to the situation and you're automatically just saying, well, no, this is how I feel. This is how it should be. And who cares who the real victim is here, because I think that we need to do this either for my own purposes or for the sake of society. And you're martyring somebody when you do that. You're saying your story and your life isn't worth any damn thing. We're going to side with the other person.
Yeah, and that was really hard, that they just automatically believed it. And for someone that had an abusive background the way Johnny did, we found out in trial, or how he grew up, what he went through, to be called the abuser, knowing he never wanted to be that way, had to be psychologically crushing. Like, that's going to be a while. I think that's why he's fighting as hard as he is, because there's just no way he would do it. It means more to him than just his relationship with Amber.
Returned to a pattern that he thought he'd gotten out of.
Exactly.
Mom just went right back into later, and that happens all too often.
In the mom and the dad relationship there, Johnny's the dad being very passive. I got two Charlies here. All right, I got to take this one off and put this one on. Hi, Charlie. Can you hear?
Hello again. Yeah.
Okay. You were still here, actually. It was I've got two of you now. This is like lit.
Stream's only got.
I don't know.
More than one.
I don't know. It's really weird.
One.
I can look down below and I see two Charlies. It's kind of strange.
StreamYards just freezes on me once every.
It is rough on a phone. Believe me, the first before I had my channel and even after, I'd StreamYard from my phone all the time, and it would overheat and kick me out. And I did panels. So I feel your pain. It's rough. Yeah, we got to get you on YouTube, dude. But anyway, on that, I wanted to ask you guys. Okay, here's the thing. With all of that, with Amber and men coming forward with any kind of allegation against a woman, do you think it has a lot to do with on the reverse end? And I know it's going to be hard to say, but you know how men always think like, a woman starts on like you're handpicked, you're nagged, women are just like that. Like, do you actually because you all joke around about it a lot. I do too. That women just are like that with you, like too emotional, demanding, pushy, and always trying to tell you what to do about stuff. Do you think
really?
Yeah, good. Like, because I out of 10 people I talked to, I was very pleased that only 3 said that kind of stuff. But in the crowds we've been hanging out with lately, it's been a little more that I see it. So I was like, like I better ask. But I try not to be like that. I might talk too much. Like my partner has to tell me to shut up all the time. Well, they have the freedom to do so because I got a thick skin. I know I talk too much. My friends tell me to shut up. I don't care. My co-hosts tell me to shut up. I don't care. It's right. They should. I talk too much. But I don't think I'm naggy. You know what I mean? Like that. I can see how some women would get upset about that. Well, some women are, right? Apparently, according to statistics, the men are saying that they are getting coerced, blackmailed. Either one of you ever been blackmailed into anything
I never
by a
made enough
partner?
money for that.
Yeah. No, but you can have emotional blackmail.
Oh,
Like,
well, absolutely. I can't
yeah,
think of
you
an
can.
example right now, but
Yeah, but I was I think that's particular situation happens a lot in situations I'm familiar with some of my partners, friends, and my brothers in particular. When separating from someone with children, and there's a lot of blackmail, coercion, and emotional distraught going on about being able to see the kids, using that as a way to get what they want, just constant berating. They got to walk on eggshells just to get through, because the system here in the United States is kind of slanted in most of the states against the partner who leaves. Um, that you don't automatically have 50% rights no matter what they tell you. You don't
yeah.
get to just say, okay, I get the kids this weekend and you get the kids next weekend. You don't get to. And you got to put out all the money to fight for it. That's got to change too. That's not as
Yeah,
that's
my mom couldn't fight it at all. I mean, my dad
Mhm.
still owes technically shitload of child support.
Right.
I mean, obviously
Mhm.
not. I'm not a child, but he didn't pay shit. He was
Right.
loaded. Yeah.
Mhm. And he didn't do it, and then, you know, it's hard to get the partner who left it to contribute, but then it's also they use it to manipulate. Sometimes women do use it to manipulate the partner into getting whatever they want in the divorce, so that they can have equal rights with the kids and all, without having to fight it. Because, like in our state here in New Jersey, we have what we call the mediation law when it comes to separation for divorce and for child custody cases and things like that in relationship to partners. And because they're trying to keep it out of the court system to bog it up, they try to get you to negotiate each other. So the manipulation is like I don't know what in those situations, because they're just like, there's no lawyer there telling you that's against the law. Like, you can't,
Yeah.
you have a lawyer representing you, but you're not in a court of law. So they have a little more freedom to say, nope, if you don't give me like this, and this, then you can't have them for every other Christmas and this, that, and the other. Even though there's like standard agreements that should be agreed on. I think it should be 50-50 out of the gate. I mean, they were parents together, but whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
Out in
yeah.
Arizona, I haven't dealt with where I'm at now, but when we lived in Arizona, they had, because we did all the separation paperwork and everything, and we were preparing to submit it when we reconciled, with a long and difficult process. It took us 6
Mhm.
months, which seems like a very short period of time, but go through a lot in 6 months.
Mhm.
Exchanging kids back and forth, trying to make a new life and everything. But we went through the process there, and they do the same thing where they want you to figure it out yourself, and only if it's failing can you bring it to court. So thankfully, we were both very much
Mhm.
50-50, and the only point I can praise them on is that when you do divorce and you submit everything, the judge, if one person is the full custodial parent and they have them all the time, or even in some cases
Mhm.
where the other partner has them part of the time, but they cannot be trusted as a primary custodial parent, they still have to pay full-time child support,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
all the stuff that kid needs is purchased by the other parent. But if you decide to do equal custody, or if you decide to do, or yeah, it's equal custody, but varying amounts of time. So the dad's only got
Mhm.
weekends off, but the mom trusts him with the kid. They will evaluate both parents' salary, who has the most time, and then they evaluate the payment based
Right.
on that, as a
Mhm.
who pays who and how much. But beyond that, I mean, you have to, negotiate it yourself. You print up the papers online and you fill them out
Mhm.
and support them for the period of the separation.
Wow. But at least they're working on it a little bit. There's at least a
Yeah.
process there. A lot of times here, there's not even a process to help them. Like, as soon as you walk away, everything's slanted against you. They have to start the process. There's quite a few interesting comments I want to put up, unless there's something specific that either one of you want to say before I bring up comments.
No.
Just kind
Okay.
of
No,
bookend
go
on
ahead.
that last one is that it always seems like when you're dealing with custodial rights with fathers, things like
Mhm,
that with the kids, guys are judged by the worst of them. Like, because the
mhm,
guys who don't pay child support, who don't take care of the kid,
mhm,
who don't do the shopping for, clothes or school supplies when time comes and stuff. Whereas with women, it's automatically presumed that they're going to be the stereotype of the single mom.
mhm,
And it seems like that's just what people's perception is the hardworking single mom and the deadbeat
mhm.
dad, when I've seen so many cases where it's backed off.
Oh, I get that. And that's an absolute true statement from what I see going on with my nephews. Unfortunately, divorce rates are very, very high. Separation rates are very, very high from what I see. Or in my lifetime, I don't know that many people that got together that are still together, and that have children. And it's unfortunate. Well, it happens, and that's what I see too. Exactly what you're talking about there. Let me just put up a couple of these. Jingo J, hello, thank you for joining us. I don't know if you all saw what Stardust was saying on Twitter, but she wanted to give Amber Heard the benefit of the doubt because she cried. All right, don't all yell at once.
Is that before or after the jalapeno toot at our Kleenex?
Yeah, exactly. That's all we're going to
Yep.
say about that because that's ridiculous. But I feel you, Jingo. That is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Okay. Oh, now I'm losing my comments here.
An actress should be able to cry whenever the fuck she wants, and she can't even do
Well,
that.
she couldn't, and it's her disorder. Bearded Heretic was like telling me over and over again, watch, she won't be able to cry. She won't be able to cry. And she couldn't until we saw her do that, what you call that, Charlie, that little bump, whatever it was, like a oil, whatever she used. And she did that, not the one where she was wiping her nose that Ranty showed us, but you know which one I'm talking about, where she did that upswing little bump from like the day before. And all of a sudden she got like a little red-eyed, like a little teary-eyed, but she had to bring it on. I mean, oh my God, it was not good. People were literally saying Johnny should just have left if he was being abused. Like, bro, imagine if I said that about Amber. Exactly. You couldn't get away with that. I can't even say that. I can't. A woman, a man, no one's allowed to say that about a female victim. We should have just left. No, we want them to, but you can't. Like, oh my God, that's a double standard for sure.
Well, he wouldn't even let him walk away in the moment, much less long term. The way it
Exactly.
played out, didn't develop in stalking and harassment, but that's just because of how it played out. If it had been a
Mhm.
less, like, cut and dry, separation situation towards the end where it was
Mhm.
slowly petering out, she would have never turned loose of him, and if he walked away, she would have kept turning up.
Mhm. That's what John says. And Johnny did leave, sometimes to a different house. And Amber Turd,
My Wi-Fi went out. What a
it's
night.
it's okay. It's okay, love. No worries. Um, So Johnny said that he did leave. I mean, John says that Johnny did leave, but sometimes to a different house, and that Amber would follow him to keep fighting sometimes. And I purposely didn't say turd, John, because you're just sticking to my roof of my mouth every time you type it, like every time. but I agree with you. He did kept trying to leave. Verillion says that I'm beginning to think that Johnny's benders, as described by Amber Heard, where he wouldn't return was him leaving the abuse. In other words, getting a way to escape. Is that what you mean, Brilliant? I think that's what you mean. And that's probably was her trigger as to why she wanted him to quit drinking and drugs so bad, because that was his escape from her when she was doing all of this. He just run away. Just
Just
run
trying to get
away.
away to clear his head and think it through, and that's the worst
Hmm.
thing for somebody that's gaslighting and manipulating someone,
Yeah.
is for them to get
Yeah.
a clear head.
Exactly. Because she's actually gaslighting the jury by saying Johnny kept me from my friends, kept me from my family, wanted me all to myself, when it was the opposite. He let her go anywhere with anyone to do everything. She was free to roam wherever she wanted. She was always with her friends partying. Everybody testified to it. Well, she was always hanging out with other people, going to shows with co-stars and everything, and doing movies on her own. But everything was her trying to get Johnny not to see his friends. All those text messages to Johnny's friends, I mean, she would say, "But I don't like Paul Bettany. They don't like me. I don't like them. I don't like them. They were bad for them. They were bad for them." She didn't approve of any of his relationships.
She basically imported friends for him to have by bringing people into
Mhm.
the penthouse and everything. And even though the guy's testimony was obviously biased and terrible today, what he said about, it was hard for Johnny to have friends rings true for the simple fact that she's not going to let him do it. He's already
Mhm.
got the strains of being a celebrity. He can't just go out somewhere and hang out.
Right.
She's
Right.
got more anonymity in him, so she brings in her friends, and now he's got somebody to talk to. I think the guy
Mhm.
exaggerated some stuff, lied about others, but I don't doubt that he would,
Yeah.
grab up any listening ear.
I think he was not credible. I don't think Io Tellett is a credible witness at all. Basically because of why he's no longer friends with Johnny. He is the one who wrote an op-ed on Johnny's daughter when she was 16 years old against her will. They're not really nice. And he's also had some credibility issues with other friends. And what's really curious is to why he hasn't spoken with Amber Heard in more than a year. They're friends. I found that odd. But he's given the testimony. Um, he's also gender fluid, so like a lot of his testimony, like when we're looking at it now, it's different than how it was then. And I can't really picture Johnny being that good a friend with him. Actually, as sketchy as he was talking, like just his demeanor. Like Johnny seems
Yeah.
more honest than that. But
I I
Jingles,
think
go on.
I was just gonna say, I think which the body language experts are gonna have a field day with him. I think some of it was true, but I think it's exaggerated. So this
Hmm.
whole we were best friends like brothers, and he confessed everything to me. He said this and that. I don't think that's gonna be true. But the fact that he would talk to him just to have somebody to talk to, I don't think he poured his heart out.
Right.
I think that's gonna turn up to be a little bit true, but then later on with stuff over the phone, because if you notice his body language suddenly switches and he starts tugging at his tie and he's not showing distress
Hmm.
like he would if it were something that were traumatic. He's feeling stress as in, I'm lying on the stand. Are they gonna know? So I
Yeah.
think they're gonna have fun with him.
I think they will. What went through my mind when I saw him doing that, especially when it was talking about the phone calls, is I could hear Amber's verse on that phone call, and he's messing with his tie because that was Amber telling him what to say on that phone call. And I know that just because she picked the things that would bother Johnny the most. Said he talked about his sister that he never would. He loved his sister. His sister protected him his whole life with his mother. They're close. He trusts her with a
Yeah.
huge company in everything in his life. He'd never sit there with some man like Io Tillett or some person like Io Tillett and bash his sister. And the other thing was, can you believe that he would bash his fans?
No,
Johnny
not a
Depp
bit.
would go out there and go to somebody, anybody, and bash his friends, call them suckerfish or whatever it was he called them. That wasn't Johnny. That was Amber destroying credibility in that man's ears. That's exactly what I thought when he was doing that about the phone call thing. I'm like, yep, he's uncomfortable because he knows the voice he hears in his ear that he's got to do this right or he's going to pay. I know what he's hearing. Well, Jingo J says also people were calling self-defense abuse because he's stronger than her. Because apparently you're not allowed to defend yourself now or you're abusive and adding to the toxicity. Well, that I don't like that one because you should be able to defend yourself, but to what extent? Like, you know what I mean? Amber's using beating Johnny as an excuse because she says he hit her first, but I don't
You're allowed to
no.
defend yourself to a reasonable degree, which means you're only supposed to take action up to what is necessary in order to
Hmm.
secure your safety. And they'll give you sometimes a little leeway, like I pushed a little too hard as long as you don't kill somebody or something. But from the way things are playing out and what we're hearing, it's not like she hit him and he grabbed her and slammed her against the wall. He pushed her back to get her out of his immediate area. It's that 3 feet. I
Hmm.
always call it the fuck me, fight me zone because if you're in that 3 feet, we better
Yep.
be doing one or the other. and he shoved her out of it. He tried to get her out of range. She didn't hit the
Right.
floor. She didn't slam anything. So I think he is within reasonable, or
I
within taking reasonable measures.
I think he is too. I really
Yep,
do.
I
I think
agree.
she's not. If she's the one saying that she's using his as self-defense, then the throwing of bottles at his head and at him and all of that, that's not within reasonable self-defense kind of stuff. Like that's aggression,
No,
right?
that's a
You're not,
deadly weapon.
yeah, right. That's like totally different. And that's what I meant. Like his actions seem to be self-defense. He said he put his arms around her the day she said she hurt her ribs. He said he had held her with bear hug like around to keep her, and she was kicking and flailing and all of that, like trying to attack him. He was trying to keep her arms down, you know.
Mhm.
That's a self-defense move. She could get a bruise that way easily. Look how she's flailing around and acting like a maniac. Of course, if you even just holding her like that, just
Yeah.
putting your arms up when somebody goes to strike you, they can easily strike off your arm and back into their own eye or face. Of course, easily. But that doesn't mean he's the aggressor when it happens, holding somebody's arm, so that they aren't punching you in the face, because he's a man and he's stronger. All of those things would look like some type of aggression, but they would actually be self-defense, right? Um,
Trying
uh,
to neutralize her rather than aggressing.
Exactly. I can't even imagine how he did it when all he wanted to do was run away and she wouldn't let him. So Verillion says to you, Aaron, I think Amber Heard was definitely was definitely speculative about what he was doing in regards to drugs and alcohol with friends when he was gone. What's to say he was painting or jamming to music for a few days or just hanging out, right? Like she automatically assumed every time he was with friends. I think this is what he means, that he
Yep.
was actually doing drugs and drinking. So,
Yeah, that he was out on a bender, but
mhm,
and I mean, he had an addiction issue, and he admits to that, the fact that, he had
mhm,
to detox and everything, but it's not like he was, out tearing
mhm,
up the town by all accounts. I
mhm,
mean, look at the people he spent time with. They're not those kinds of people. They're the people that just would sit in and do something, and if nothing else, he was just trying to get into a safer area. There might have been drugs and alcohol, but it wasn't the feeding factor behind what.
mhm. Nope,
Yeah, because you
I
can
get
do that
that.
anywhere.
Yep. I have just a few more here. I don't know why this isn't showing up on. I don't know why it's not showing up in your StreamYards, but that's weird. John says, most people I know who are married have told me some version of, don't make the mistake I did. I think divorce rates would be even higher if it wasn't so expensive. I think you're onto something there, John. I actually do. Unfortunately, I don't think people think enough about it beforehand. Um, Unfortunately, or you know, when we do those other conversations that I have on my channel with the "Am I the asshole?" It's always about communication and compromise, and I'm always laughing about how rare that is. Like to me, it's like air. It's just
Yeah,
you
the
have to have it.
the grass is greener sickness is worse than ever. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's part of why you're single, John? Charlie?
I don't know. I really don't.
I don't
Probably
think you
not.
probably not. Well, you don't seem like a grass is greener kind of person, like
No.
a jumper. But I don't know. But what I
Well,
don't I
people,
wouldn't know. Mhm.
they expect
But
marriage to be all fairy tale and magic, and it's not. It's just it
mm-mm.
is somebody that's there with you to help you get through the shitty life that you're living and
Exactly
everything.
the
Because my wife's
ups
my
and
battle
downs.
buddy.
Yep.
Like whatever
Yep.
I'm dealing with, she is there to help me, and I'm there to help her.
Mhm.
And very much the rest of the world is on the outside of that.
Yeah.
Whereas other
Marriage is
people
it
seem,
it's fluid, right, Aaron? It's not
yeah,
it's ups and downs. It's fluid. It's never all the highs, it's never all the lows. Sometimes it's just even, you know, but it's
oh,
a fluid thing and you get out of it what you put into it every
and
day.
how you
So,
how you handle it when both people are low, I'll tell you right now, is one of the biggest determiners because when one person is low and the other person's supporting them, it puts a strain on it. But when both people are low, If you start
Mhm.
tearing each other apart, your marriage is doomed. Whereas if both
Yeah.
people are low and you just kind of you band together to muddle through it and get it done,
That's
that's
better.
more
Mhm.
telling of a marriage. And it's not
Yeah.
pretty. It's not.
No.
It's done.
Sometimes accepting it for what it is, the good and the bad, the ugliness with the beautifulness of it. And there is ugliness involved, and we all are human. We all have our faults, and it's honoring those, all of them, that makes a good, solid partnership, whether you're married or not, whether you're just together. You can apply that to friendship, family, and marriage. If you don't accept the worst, you don't deserve the best. Like, you don't have to accept in disrespect and all of that. That's not what I mean by the worst. I just mean just regular human faults and things. We're not always going to make the right decision about everything. There's grace in everything. You know. I'm gonna just make this one makes me happy because we did have this conversation, and I had to admit to being a kitchen abuser myself. Varian says to Jingo that I was talking to Claire last night about that. I'd definitely be hitting inanimate objects around someone like Amber Heard and her bullshit, like what she was like talking to Johnny about all the time, how she was treating him, and that he too would have beat kitchen cabinets and broke bathroom lysers. And I have to admit to being in that situation myself that I would actually get so frustrated I would probably beat up a bathroom or something. Not a person, but yeah, a room. Yeah, I could see myself doing that easily. Well, I don't know.
I
Eh,
used
so,
to, but now that I'm more aware of my triggers and have what I need to do to handle them, I don't get to that point because
mhm,
I know what's gonna channel my anxiety and anger and what's gonna channel it into more of that flight, which you don't want to have to do either, but you got to do one. So just
mhm,
withdraw and go deal with it rather than letting it flow and just destroying everything in the neighborhood.
mhm. Um, Almost the doctor said, I recently had a pretty horrifying encounter with someone I dated briefly. I didn't see the red flags, and even though I didn't and couldn't have known what I was looking for, not knowing still hurts. I feel, let me put this one, hey, I hate when it does that. I feel like I should have done better, yet at the time I had no idea. And it's not your fault. Like, there's no way you can know. Like, this is the hardest thing. I don't think any of us here automatically think it's the other person, right? Oh, I don't know. I know I don't. I'm always looking like, what did I do? How could I have prevented this? I'm always taking responsibility for whatever it is. But I'm starting to learn, mostly out here on YouTube. Shitty people are just shitty people, Matthew, and there ain't anything we can do about it. It's probably nothing you did, You just them, just mostly them. Um, I'm sorry you went through that. I really am. But don't blame yourself. You know. But
The
it's like,
ones that assume it's automatically the other person tend to be people who are the aggressors or narcissistic and everything. And normal
mm-hmm,
person, they even if you're approaching it from a neutral point of view and you're not feeling shame, which generally is
mm-hmm,
from past traumas, you're still looking at yourself as well as them, and we tend to be harsher critics on ourselves.
mm-hmm. We do. We're really harsh on ourselves. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, right. We all are. To all degrees, and all we can do is like talk to each other and build each other up about it, and keep reinforcing that. It's not always us. John says to almost the doctor, you don't know what you don't know. Experience is the best teacher. And now you know some things to look out for going forward. So, you take the lesson. As painful as it was, because almost the doctor's answer is, I just wish it was a softer lesson. Man, I feel that, Matthew. I feel that. I say that regularly.
Mm.
But it is a lesson. We learn from it. As hard as it is. Well, on this, okay, just a couple more, and I'm going to let you guys go because I know it's been a long day working for Charlie, and Aaron too was out in the chats working and doing stuff too, and it's been a long day for all of us. Marillion says, I think Johnny's openness about personal things speaks more about Johnny's persona and makes him look approachable rather than confrontational, and I would agree with that. I would also agree on that line that his openness about what happened to him, although I don't see a big change coming, I agree with both Charlie and Aaron to say I don't really see the climate changing that fast. I will say that it's encouraging to see Johnny tell his story and to be associated with someone like Ranty, who had the courage to put out an hour-long video before he even streamed this about his own personal experience, even though it happened years ago. Years ago. He's been dealing with it for years on his own. But he felt the strength to come forward and do it. And maybe with people like that and stories like that and trials like this, maybe more people will come forward to make it more comfortable for others, for more men to be able to talk about it. And maybe, just maybe, me talking about it will make more women open up and let the men in their lives talk about it.
Well, the thing about with men, it's hard to find empathy because if they haven't dealt with it themselves in any facet in their lives, they're not going to give a shit to talk about it.
It's just true. But I have found when you find a safe space and an ear, good things happen. You find yourself being able to deal with things you never thought possible. I don't know. I'm not a man, so I can't say from a man's perspective if you would do the same. But that's worked for me many times. And I do talk to a lot of guys. Well, you guys know, because like I have friends on the internet all over. You see, a good portion of them are men. Most of my best friends don't judge. They've always been men because I relate better to my brothers than I do sissy girls. I can't help it. They just, I like rugby and science and I read and I'm a nerd and, I didn't like prom and pink is not my favorite color. And you won't find me in 8-inch stilettos, never. But it doesn't mean I'm not a woman and I'm not womanly, but I just find it more comfortable to deal just a little more down to earth and not too gossipy. I have girlfriends, yes, I have women friends. But I talk to a lot of men, and I'm happy to say that if I had to put years on it, I'd say in the last 10 years, when Aaron calls himself a humanist, I understand that term because I would say most of the men I'm dealing with now are humanists. They're not gender specific as far as like men do this and women do that. They don't judge me because I'm a woman. They talk to me like a person, and they recognize my humor and my brain, and I appreciate that. And I'm talking about real life too, not just out here on the internet, like real life, like around my brother's friends, My brothers aren't that much difference in age than me. So are all the men around them, around the same age. And I've seen a big difference in the people I work with on the internet, the people I worked with in business the last 10 years before. So I'm hoping it's changing. And I hope that you, Charlie, and you, Aaron, will feel it like I have. I talk more, so maybe I get more experience with them than you guys. But I do hope
I'd say that's probably true.
Yeah, that I talk more. Yeah. But, all right, last words so I can let you go. You want to say anything, Charlie?
Not really. I've been in the same state as I was before it, so no triggers have been met.
That's cool.
Same for Aaron.
Yeah, well, I do thank you for sharing with us what you did and having an open conversation about it and staying as long as you did, because I realized we went over and I appreciate it that you did. Aaron, is there anything you want to close with or put out there before we say goodnight?
No, probably just commentary on the last thing you're talking about having more guy friends. I hate when people try to force gender inherent on me, where you're a guy, you're supposed to do that, you're supposed to feel this, da 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 da. And it's the same thing for women. And I have very little respect and want to deal as little as possible with people who do that, because it leads down these roads where you cannot be yourself and you're stuck in a miserable situation from the most basic thing where, a guy's in a risky job because guys are supposed to do stuff like that to bring home the bacon, all the way up to situations where people can't report violence, domestic violence against them, or women are not treated like humans in the positions they're in. And just let people be who they are and stop exercising your own expectations on them as long as they're being a human being.
As long as they're being a human being and honest to who they are and not hurting anybody else, damn straight, Aaron. Like that is perfect thing to end on, because that's how I really like to see it, like every day. Like instead of saying it's men friends, it's just friends, from all over in different places, dealing with that. But thank you for that. That's a really good way to end. On that, thank you guys for all being in the chat and hanging out as long as you did. Charlie, go get some dinner. And thank you very much. I'm sorry it went over longer, but I really appreciate the conversation. Aaron, thank you again too for yourself. You guys, I like having conversations like this. I know it ain't, the most natural thing in the world for some of us, but I appreciate you guys giving me the grace for being here. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
I know the bill's in the mail, right? Like I'm gonna have to pay up somehow. I figured it. No, that's a joke. It's a joke. All right. You see, I just can't help it. All right. On that, good night, everybody. We'll see you. We'll see you all over at Auditing the Absurd tomorrow morning if you're following the trial. If not, I'll see you. On the weekend for Mayhem, maybe. All right. All right. Good night. Good night, Charlie. Good night, Aaron.
Good night. Good night, Aaron.
That was funny.
Whoops, wait, it didn't.